You've been quite a prominent figure, I would say, locally, and not only in the adoption of artificial intelligence and trying to educate the mainstream public on it. So, how can businesses adopt artificial intelligence?
Very often, just like with any other technology, adoption needs to be related to an educational process. So an organization, a company today, has many processes, has many activities that it conducts. But very often choosing one, which is the pain point for the organization, perhaps it's costing too much, or maybe it's too slow, right? And there are many examples. Often customer service is one of these examples, right? But picking low-hanging fruit on which you could win, that's a good way to start an adoption. Another key principle, Fran, over here is this idea of gathering data. In my definition about AI, I mentioned that AI is a system which can capture a large amount of data. So it's quite useful for an organization to start capturing data about its customers, its processes, its throughput. So these different data points, as well as the accumulation of transactions with the customers, start giving the business the idea of where the pain point is, where the quick win with AI could be. So starting with an education process, identifying a quick win, and then getting some data points around that quick win is probably the right path to adoption. But maybe I shouldn't stop without talking about culture. I have found, Fran, and perhaps you've had this experience too, that very often adopting technology is not as simple as adopting, a software product. It's really about changing culture. It's changing the way we perceive business, the way we perceive how we do things. And often change is not the problem, right, within an organization. It's the resistance to change, which is. So when we wish to adopt AI within an organization, we need to ensure that apart from getting the technology level right, we also have the cultural change right. So we need to think about change strategy and change management. And we need to ask questions like this. Do the people in our organization trust the AI which we are bringing in? Do they trust the outputs which AI, or the decisions which AI is taking? And when we start grappling with these questions, it will also give us an indication of what to do next. So if our organization doesn't trust AI, why is that? Do we need to focus more on education? Do we need to retrain our personnel to understand what it means to work in a workplace which is part human and part AI? So there is a large cultural barrier to adoption. And if we get the technology right, if we get the processes right, but we fail on changing culture, adoption of AI is often problematic.
And to go back a little bit, what we said about how the job market will be impacted by AI, and can humans and AI coexist in an ethical partnership and have a symbiotic, flourishing relationship rather than a parasitic one?
I think we need to start off, Fran, by recognizing that some jobs will go. And that is a reality that we need to digest. But other jobs, which we don't even have a name for today, will be created. And when your daughter is our age, she'll probably be doing things that we don't even imagine are possible today, because there are going to be new sectors of the economy which will emerge due to AI. So let's start with the first part, the jobs that will go. Let's just focus on that a little bit. Low-skilled jobs, Fran, are the ones which are most likely to be at risk. Most analysts assume that 15% of any workforce of any country is likely to be that low-skilled workforce, which is most probably to be challenged by the automation that AI brings. Now, 15% might sound like a small number, but it's not, Fran. 15% of the American job market is 13 million people. That's not a small amount. So which are these type of jobs? Well, the classic call center, that's going to go. The classic accountant who is, repeatedly performing financial tasks on inputs and outputs, that's likely going to be a job which is automated. Cashiers, it's likely going to go. The concept of a driver going from fixed point A to B is already hugely changed through most of Europe, Fran. But I'll even go further. I think even the classic understanding of what teaching is, which needs to change radically, is likely to change. And we've seen it change quite recently in COVID, where we started seeing a degree of AI and app-based teaching, which is mediated by a human rather than delivered. I think those are the jobs which are likely to go. But let's talk about the new jobs, right? I think AI will find it hard to negotiate, complex social relationships. AI will find it hard to be creative. And I'd like to use this space, Fran, to kind of pause on this concept. And we really need to distinguish what is information or data and what is knowledge. AI is good at information, storing data, sorting through it, deciding on it. But knowledge is the wisdom that we create when we distance ourselves from that information, from the data. And that is critical. So I think the ability to create knowledge, the soft skills around that, will remain an extremely human capability, which AI will never challenge. And that is why today I think employability is less about what you already know and have learned, and more about your capacity to adapt and to learn going forward. And so the future of jobs is likely to be one where we see more reliance on the creative economy, on knowledge management, on soft skills. The reflection that we have here needs to also reach our educators, reach our educational institutions to make sure that they are transforming as fast as we need them to, and as fast as we are claiming businesses should.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and to everyone that has listened. And you can also reach him out on social media. He's quite a popular figure here, so if you type in his name, I'm sure you'll be able to find you. Gege, thank you very much again, and have a great evening.